motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second, to approve, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, the claims are approved. We have no finance officer.
Ann.
Oh, Ann, okay.
It's me.
So, Ann, you're up.
Now it's on. I don't have anything revenue-wise for you. We're still trying to get reconciled, so next meeting I'll have that for you. They're working on shut-offs this week. They had 5 pages yesterday and knocked it down to 2. And they have 16 yet to get a hold of. But, they had a lot of disconnected phone numbers that they ran into. So they're knocking it out. I think they were working their tails off yesterday, so we're getting there, but it was a lot for them to tackle. And then I gave you this is the budget that I track for Rick, and I just printed that out. I don't know if you want to look at it or not. And then those numbers that I've written down below, or I've taken more off, that is a detail is behind. That's what that is. Any questions?
You're leaving us? And I do have a quick question.
Okay.
The numbers that you put on there, like the 9820, is that?
Look at the back page, Bernie.
Look at the back page.
Those are some additions that haven't been added into the budget yet.
Ah,
And it looks like yep, I did mess that up. At 1541 should come down to repairs and maintenance. But
what figure did you say?
There's-
$15.41 they've got on there.
Oh,
It should come down to repairs and maintenance and not any professional fees.
why is it?
You can also push.
One more time. The company that drilled the well, Keller is the last name, and they're from North Dakota?
They're from northern South Dakota.
Northern South Dakota. Thank you.
As opposed to southern North Dakota. It looks like we're over budget on a whole lot of items.
Yeah, I guess nothing concerning. We've got, 4 or 5 particular line items that are over budget, but that, the overall budget, I mean, when you look at repairs and maintenance, for example, you may have one line item that is over, but the total is not over. I mean, we're still under. And most of those have to do with repairs that we didn't have a choice but to make. I mean, something breaks, you have to fix it. Yeah.
Does anyone have any other comments?
None.
Any customer concern?
None to report.
Yes, we try to the top.
Good morning. So, if you've been out and about, you've probably seen some water in the gutters in different places. For a while, we're still flushing hydrants. Excuse me. That's going slower than normal because we're not dedicating all day, all the time to it. As things come up, we're just rolling it into our schedule with every other thing we do normally. So, as something comes up, I pull somebody off of here or there off of their route, but excuse me again. You'll probably see some water in your neighborhood pretty soon, Bernie. Brant's in your neck of the woods here, so just give you a heads up. We'll do our best. With the diffuser, we tend to get it on the street more. So if anything, if you see the red, it's probably we're cleaning the gutter that was already red. So, well 8, I think Rick will probably touch on more, but they are performing the flow test. And if you've been by there, they have mobbed in a lot of the piping for I believe that was Schedule C that will connect the well to the main line there. They'll have to line up and go through the bore that's already been done under the high pressure gas mains that are there for Williston Basin natural gas. Beyond that, the lead and copper surveys, I got that in by deadline. The state was supposed to send a list of who we have to provide notice to yesterday. I still have not received that. I don't know. I think maybe they got overrun. If you go to the South Dakota Water Pipes website, you can see that the population on the map has changed. Every residence has a green square that you can click on, and it says whether it's lead, non-lead, unknown. So you can click on anyone's house in town, any other town around that was submitted. And as I was poking through it the other day, the amount just that I knew we had, never mind all the other towns like Spearfish and Belfouche, Lead and Deadwood. I think the state maybe is very busy right now trying to come through with their promise from yesterday. But through that process, we will have to notify everyone that they tell us we have to notify. They have provided a sheet, we copy it, and we either mail it to them or go door to door. Kind of in conversation with Rick, initial plan that I have is to try to tidy up the citizen reports that we did not receive, so we can go door to door and try to document what they have and knock them off the spreadsheet. The spreadsheet that I submitted is a living document. We still have to maintain it to keep the EPA and the state happy for compliance. So this is going to be an ongoing, for lack of a better term, struggle to get this done. And if you're current on other news, I believe that our president now, 2 weeks ago, made a mandate that within 10 years, all lead lines will be removed in the country. So basically, I have not heard of a firm deadline other than that. But in 10 years, we have to prove up that we have no lead service lines. So you will see us, as soon as I have the sheets, we're gonna, once again, be as proactive as possible, and hopefully people are compliant. As far as our side of the curb stop, I've gone through all of our records. There's gonna be some discrepancies. We don't obviously wanna dig up and tear up everything, but as with this sewer interceptor that's coming through, Silver Street is getting redone. That's behind McDonald's there for a block. That one we can update on our spreadsheet. When that's done, we'll know that it is not lead. It'll all be new. So any of our projects in the future, as we have funding to proceed, we can at least knock those off of our list without having to excavate and prove up on it. Beyond that, we have had a couple issues with a couple wells. We're running now, it's the clay valves in there. One is the operating valve for the well, and the other one is a flush valve. I've had to order parts to repair those. We're still operating, but with the operating valve, it isn't opening all the way consistently, so it's restricting flow, which in turn is making the flush valve malfunction. To my knowledge, they have not been rebuilt since installation, so we're gonna do a complete overhaul, have those ready. On that end of town, also, we had an electrical issue at well 5 that I'm waiting for a quote on to fix. It is, I get my electrical terms mixed up, but I believe it's the starter box is bad, and we'll see what that's gonna take to fix that so that we have those 2 wells at least operable as needed. Other than that, I have nothing else unless you have questions.
Just a question on the lead, service lines. Are you finding any?
I have no documentation of any lead lines in. I know other places that have them. I've been exposed to them, but everything I have, there is no lead lines here. But that isn't enough for the state. We have to, or the EPA, we have to continue on with this arduous journey and prove up to them. So, but any other questions?
About what years did they stop using lead lines? Do you have any idea?
So, yes and no. They gave us the date of 1988. So if a home was built after 1988, i.e. 1989 to current, we're good. Okay, they still want the interior checked, which I still do not agree with it being our job. I mean, we're not the internal plumbers, but there could be lead solder used in copper plumbing, internal plumbing, clear into the 90s. I mean, you had plumbers that had X amount of materials for their job that they used up. Prior to that, lead would have likely been done probably early 50s to have an actual solid lead line. Give or take that. I mean, every region's a little different, but it is pretty neat here in Sturgis with the old books I have. There's a few unknowns, so it is possible, but everything else is labeled as copper or galvanized or whatnot. The issue we have is anything that's galvanized in our tap books. If I have any unknowns upstream or downstream, because we're a loop system, that triggers them as a galvanized line needing replacement, because I can't prove that there was never lead above or below it. One of their rules that I can't modify. So that's our uphill battle, but they're really, I've going through this, 30 some hundred accounts. I only remember maybe 100 galvanized lines that are still there. We have documentation on many of them that have been replaced, at least from the main to the curb or from the curb to the house. When you really break this down, if we did 3,400 accounts, it's actually 6,800 because there's our side and their side, which all becomes our responsibility. So there was a lot of double digging. Okay. Any other questions? Okay, thank you.
Sure, just to kind of go over well number 8. We are down into the Madison, and they did on Monday. They started the drawdown pumping. We pumped 500 gallons per minute for 2 hours, and we had a 13-foot drawdown. It did recover within a couple of minutes, so that was good news. And then yesterday they started the 630 gallon per minute test. So I haven't heard the results of that yet, but that is well capable of producing something in probably the high 500s. We'll probably this testing is used to size the pump accordingly. So we'll see where we're at, I guess. Here, have some more information probably in the next couple of days. The other thing that we're currently working on, and I at some level will probably be kind of sitting down and looking at, is our budget, the water budget, trying to balance our revenues versus our expenditures, and we still need to increase or build back up our reserves. As of right now, we don't have any reserves, which we need to operate within. We should have at least 10% of our yearly operational funds as reserves, and the reason we have reserves is so that if we do have a well that goes down, we're able to make those repairs, and we don't have to have a appropriation from the council. That's why it's a enterprise fund. Is those bills are used to pay and keep the water system operational. So we'll be working through that. I don't know right now. We'll have to work with the existing council to get a balanced budget. Right now, I don't know what that looks like as far as fee increases. I think without a doubt, we probably need to have cost of living increase in our probably 3% or so in all of our utilities. Otherwise, we continue to go backwards because all the costs to do business continue to go up. So it's hard to stay stagnant and not have some sort of increase. But right now, we don't know what that will look like. Some of it's based on projections of how many new users and accounts we will have, and then we need to look at as well. Each year we'll be looking at all of our surcharges and seeing whether or not, again, as we get new users on that widens that slice of pie, and the surcharges should be able to be dropped. Because again, all we have to have is 110% of the loan value that we're collecting. So the more users we have, the less surcharge you have to collect from each one. So those are things we'll look at. Again, we'll have to determine what we're going to do. If we're going to continue to be proactive and do projects, or if we're going to have to be a little bit more reactive and only fix the things that become broken, to try and balance. There's going to be, without a doubt, a couple of years of rebuilding our budget back up, and so we'll have to look hard at the projects that we're doing. Some of the projects that we already have, in the queue, of course, are our well 8 improvements. The North Trunk Line, which Todd was talking about, which includes a complete rebuild of Silver Street water. I believe that water portion for that was about $466,000. That's not eligible in that SRF because that was a clean water SRF, which was for sanitary. So all of the sanitary portions are eligible for reimbursement under the loan, but the water and the street portions will have to come out of our reserves or our capital improvements. So, you know, that will be something that we'll be looking at here in the near future, to make sure we have those revenues for those projects, and hopefully get a balanced budget. Title VII, when the council did pass that, they extended the deadline in which they have to have an approved budget to December. So we are running a little bit later than what we normally would, but again, I don't think that's any cause for concern. I'm pretty sure that we'll get where we need to be. It's just gonna be a little bit later in the year. And that's about all I have to report on, unless you guys have any questions for me.
Does anyone have a question? Thanks, Rick. I assume we have no hearings, and no business, and new business. Other matters that may come before the board. And I assume we're not having an executive session. So we would like to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
There's a motion and a second for adjourn.
Next meeting.